standards in enemy hands. We're sitting ducks here. You need to tell the commander we were ambushed. We can't hold without reinforcements.
I'm to tell him.
No, Princess Syphilis. Move it, imbecile, before they slaughter us to a man.
I shall make it. First battle. Killed my first man. God.
So someone was asking what I think of itemization in this game. I don't really think about it at all. Like, it doesn't seem important. I just find a better item and then I equip it. It's not like itemization is a big thing. And someone else was asking about D&D with one player character. And I actually find that quite difficult. Oh, I see. Alright, I'm gonna open my mind here. And ask myself, what kind of experience were they trying to create with this portion of the game? Maybe they were trying to give you an insight into what it felt like to be a soldier in these armies, and just how against the odds it was on both sides. Which is an interesting... It's an interesting experience to convey. But, I don't know that the particular way they chose to do it was a super engaging one. They're using good sound cues for this segment, though. The horn blowing is good. And they've spaced these quite well. Damn, those guys shot a lot of arrows.
My lord, the leader of the Dun Banner sent me. We were ambushed. We can't hold.
Weren't your scouts keenly watching the battlefield, Captain?
Yes, sir. They must have dug those ditches in the night. The field was clear by day. Lady Glephisic scanned it with her magic during the night.
10 lashes to each scout. Hang every third one.
My lord, we need support.
There will be no reinforcements. You must hold. And you, Glephisic, I'll settle this after the battle. The king will learn of your incompetence.
Battles are won or lost by the commanders, not by sorceresses. Remember, I'll make a report too, and...
I've finished talking to you, witch. Time to win this battle. My lords, to your banners.
That's a pretty wicked looking thing. I like that.
We enter the fray.
That's a great cinematic shot there with all those crows flying in the sky. That was
maybe
wicked.
You finished with me, but that
Well
doesn't
done.
mean I finished with you. Nadovesave.
How can we help you, Sabrina?
My place at Hensel's court is threatened. Furthermore, if Vandergrift wins the battle, nothing will stop Hensel from taking Upper Edda.
The balance of power in the north will be upset. What do you intend?
I shall summon Melgar's fire to the battlefield. It will kill Vandergrift and weaken both sides.
Any use of unconventional weapons may be severely censored.
I'm aware of that.
Hensel's hegemony is counter to the Lodge's plans. We will help you, but remember, in the event that you fail, you'll be on your own.
Is that Philippa Albert?
I am ready.
What's going on?
That's all you've got? You're dying fast, like roaches under my boot. Is there a Kenwenny to match Selkirk of Gallic on this field?
I don't know what just happened. Can I dodge? No. Why, yes, it looks as though there are Kedwennies to match Selkirk of Gullet. Since Selkirk of Gullet is, like, way worse than The Witcher. Selkirk of Gullet is about to bleed to death. I'm not too big a fan of one player. I mean, I've never done it, right? I feel like... I mean, D&D for me is it's just a very social game. You get together with a bunch of friends, all sit around the table and have a good time. The mechanics themselves aren't necessarily... They don't require multiple players, but there's a lot of pressure on a single person in carrying a story, both from their character's actions and from the GM's perspective. When there's multiple players, there's this push and pull, tug, this give and tug and push and pull of different players taking the spotlight and becoming the main character for a scene and then fading into the background or supporting. It's interesting, and it also it puts less pressure on individuals. Being everything else is not currently scheduled, the reason being that we would normally do it next Friday, when Adam and I are playing in the Marathon D&D game. Oh yeah, I mean, the art of GMing is... It's basically the art of improvisation. You're prepared. You know the sort of... You know the setting within which you can improvise. But improvisation is a huge part of GMing. I really don't like this 4-on-1 stuff. How did I meet Adam? I think I met him because I had done Dungeon World through R&D, and then I met him at PAX East, and then I think we just started chatting as a result of that, and then he got involved with JP through Swan Song. And I wanted to do a show about GMing that was sort of an entrant into the wider world of role-playing games and not necessarily connected directly with roleplay. And so since Adam already has that connection, he's He's made a role-playing game. I invited him, I asked him if he would be interested in running a show with me. And that's how we got together for Being Everything Else.
That's all you...
It also just doesn't feel good that they've put you in a situation where you have to use parries against multiple opponents, because when you parry and then attack one opponent, you're vulnerable to another opponent attacking you. That's sort of an offbeat. It doesn't feel like this is the correct strategy to use in these situations. In these situations, I would use bombs or knives or signs, something to split up the group. And instead, here I'm set into these situations where I'm fighting three enemies at once, and I'm using mechanics that are not meant to be fighting multiple opponents. See, look at that. I just got stabbed in the back and given bleeding because I parried and attacked. Ah. Thanks, Stalfin. Mordenkrad, I have not checked out Life is Feudal. What is it? Is it a video game? I don't... It sounds familiar, but I don't remember it. Yes, I would like to load the last saved game.
That's all you've got? You're dying fast, like roaches under my boot. Is there a Kenwenny to match Selkirk of Gallic on this field?
Beast Hacker is making an interesting point. If parrying becomes very important later in the game, then this area does have the advantage of teaching you how to parry. So that's true. But, I mean, I feel like I'm halfway through the game, right? Like, I wish this lesson would have come much earlier. Maybe when I didn't have all of the spell options that I currently have, when I didn't have all of my powerful current abilities. Like, the fight with Letho, I thought was quite good because it forced me to learn to use heavy attacks, basically, because that was the only way to get rid of... to take down his health bar. And that worked really well, and that was a fight that... Okay. That fight with Letho was a fight that used all of the mechanics in the game, but it forced me to interface with them in a more advanced way than I had been before. Oh my god. Dude, what? Valfin is making an interesting point. He says, we all know mandatory stealth sections are annoying. This is similar. It's a mandatory play in a style you didn't want to section that's meant to give you more choice, in a game that's meant to give you more choices than that. I'd say there's actually even more to it than that. There's a really binary success or failure state. It's you have to succeed at all of this stuff in a row, and maybe you haven't practiced this stuff, and maybe it's not the way that you want to play. And if you don't, then you have to play it all again. Like if it was if there was some other way of like letting you advance, even though you hadn't really succeeded. I mean, like someone earlier was saying, you know, all of these ghosts that you're possessing, they're already all dead. So why does it matter so much if you die in this section? And I guess it's because the story of the battle is that I didn't die at this point in the battle, I died later in the battle, so I have to survive this part so that I can die later, so that this ghost can die later. Yeah. Life is Feudal is a sandbox game with a fighting system like in Mountain Blades, full PvP looting, you can build buildings in any part of the world and stuff, currently in early access on Steam. That does seem pretty interesting. What's been my favorite video game in the past year? Shadow of Mordor has taken a really high spot. It's really cool. I'm kind of having not to parry, because if I parry, then I leave myself vulnerable, so I'm really just kind of blocking. Though, of course, now I've just lost 90% of my health bar. Boop. Come on. Load it. Huthor Man. I think that improving this section would be very simple. Just let the ghosts use the Witcher's abilities. After all, the Witcher is sort of possessing these ghosts, right? Like his mind is going back in time. What's going on here? His mind is going back in time. He still has all of his knowledge. Maybe you don't give him his spells, but man, then you devalue the choices that the player has made. Just let the player keep all the abilities. That would be the best way to use this section. You're still playing through the events of the past. You're still seeing the events of the past, but you're doing it in a way that the player feels like they have skill and they can actually play in their preferred style. Now, if I had to remove those abilities from the player, you know, for whatever reason, the story demands that these ghosts do not have the Witcher's abilities. Then I would look at having a different fail state, and I would absolutely put more checkpoints. Like every time I killed an enemy, maybe killing an enemy would regenerate me. After all, I'm a ghost, right? I don't know, some way to make it much less punishing when you fail, because you're forcing the players to play in a way that they probably haven't, that they may not have practiced at all, and may be very unfamiliar with. Any one enemy I can tear apart with parries. It's when there's 3 or 4 at a time that it becomes impossible. Okay, so the game is basically causing me to do a very silly thing right now, which is just wait while my health bar regenerates. That's no good. And they could have sort of known that the optimal way of advancing in this segment is to wait between battles while your health bar regens. So for example, if you kill all of the guys, then your health bar goes. Boom. Straight back to the top. Yeah, this segment of the Pharisar is making an excellent point. This section literally punishes you for going mage because you have no access to mage abilities for reasons. That's really a shame. You also have no access to potions. I mean, they completely invalidate 2 of the character progression trees while heavily favoring one of them, Swordsman. So, you know, like, what if you had a different set of mage abilities? Like, if you had put enough talent points in mage, then you have, you know, swordsman-style mage abilities during this. If you put enough points into potions, or if you drank potions before, then you have, you know, some sort of lore-appropriate potion effects on you. Like, this guy that I'm playing as right now, he was, like, a serious badass. And I'm certainly not feeling like a serious badass right now. I feel like I'm cheesing the aggro system in order to pull these guys one by one. Yeah, or they could have given you skills in the sword tree to make up for it no matter what you chose. Absolutely. In that case, you're still a little bit at a disadvantage because you haven't been practicing with those skills, so you may not know how to access them or how to press your advantage when you receive them. Now that I realize that I can just wait after killing these guys for my health to regen, I mean, that's just what I'm gonna do. Whoa. That was dramatic. I don't know what just happened. Maybe some bombardment or something like that. What is that in the sky? Right above my character's head. Trees, I guess. I really wish I could save halfway through this, too. Spoon Fairy says, so tell me, how much background do you give your shopkeeper? None. I roll that stuff, and then I see how he comes out in play.
The visitor! I've long awaited this meeting.
Leave, Ghost.
I'll not give up an opportunity to duel Van der Grift.
He will kill you.
Selkirk does not fear death.
When you die, your soldiers will die every day afterwards. Forever. Leave. This is a task for a witcher, not a knight.
This whole section was a task for a witcher. Yeah, Raptured X, I mean, you're right. Geralt is not possessing the ghost is possessing Geralt and reliving the same story over and over again. It can't use Geralt's abilities, you're just seeing the fight through the ghost's eyes. That's fine, but the ghost has abilities maybe that Geralt doesn't. You could have decided that. Save. Can I save? You cannot save at this time. And also, like, if it's just a means to tell a story, if all you're doing in your game is telling a story, put it in a cinematic. That's not a game. A game is an interactive experience. So if all they wanted to do is tell the story of the battle, they could literally have just used one of those, like, cartoon cinematics that they used before, and then they would have skipped this entire section. Oh, look, all my potions and oils are gone. Can I use them? No, of course not.
Come on!
I mean, I guess I'll just kill you exactly the way I've killed everything else. Except easier. Yeah, sure. Come at me, bro. What's up, Vandergrift's standard bearer? Yeah!
Mercy.
Uh-oh.
You have failed me.
That guy looks like a total badass, and I can't wait to fight him.
Your nightmare.
And his voice actor is amazing. Yep, good. Like, why would you do that? Why would you attack me while I'm still pulling my sword out?
Archers.
Archers? That's really cool. I like that. That's well done. Okay, let's talk about how good that is. That's really good. That's really good because they've sent you through a section that teaches you how to avoid arrows, and then he calls for archers and he holds up his shield so you have to take cover behind him. That is great. Yes.
How many more can there be?
Oh god, that's not good. Okay, good. Yeah, F9. Oh, am I in for a very bad surprise when I try to stand behind him? Look at that! Okay, so I clearly can't parry, even though this entire segment has been teaching me to parry. Yeah, good. We should start counting my deaths, chat. That's 3, I think. And he's gonna damage me before I'm able to act. They've done that a bunch in this game, where I've taken damage before I've been able to act. Whoa. No, I mean, you know, you obviously can't parry a 15-foot claymore, but maybe the Witcher can. And also, they just sent you through an entire segment of the game where the only thing you could do is parry. Like, that is teaching you to use the wrong mechanic. So, Gwen. Trebuchets. Can I damage you with my sword? I think that's a legitimate question. Yep, that's 4. Or 5.
Take that.
You know, I gotta say, guys, now that I'm actually playing it, I'm really not super impressed with The Witcher 2. I know it's deeply beloved, but there's some really obvious stuff. Guess I'll use Gwen again. Like, he's definitely a cool looking boss, but I have no idea how to hurt him yet, so that's That's kind of a shame. 6 or so. Yay. Glad you're damaging me before I can act. Man, I'm just gonna, like, burn you to death. Shit. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, Pharisar, that sounds so awful.
Come on!
What are you doing? Oh, look. Arrows. Yeah, it's clear I can't hide behind him because he attacks me. That's a real shame. They had such a chance to make that cool. Where it's like, here's this huge-ass boss, and he's covering himself from arrows, but he's also inadvertently covering you if you are able to hide in his shadow. That would have been neat, and that also would have trained you from the previous experience. Like, this whole thing. See you, Psycho Kraut. It's 12:03, so I'll give this another 5 tries or so, and then I might call it quits. So we got some arrows coming in, and I guess I just have to move to avoid them, which is not the way I was able to avoid arrows earlier, by the way. Like, that's the weirdest thing. Like, games are all about teaching. Don't teach your players one thing and then do a completely different thing. Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh no. No, yeah.
Wonder how long will turn up.
Irden does seem pretty strong. I mean, you know, you can... Okay, good. F9. Yeah, Irden is pretty good. Because you can stop him and then hit him in the back.
Damn.
Irden is also really weird because it doesn't always affect your target. Like, sometimes your target is stopped and sometimes not. It's also actually really hard to see where the trebuchet balls are going to land because the camera isn't really built for that kind of spatial awareness. Sure wish I had potions. I'm gonna get killed. There we go. Okay, so you're not actually stuck, are you? No, because you're turning to face me. I'm totally dead.
How many more can there be?
How many more can there be? That's so funny. Let's just go ham. Ha 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 ha. If this works, that's gonna just be ridiculous. And now he's gonna kill me in like 2 hits or something. Okay, I am the closest I've ever been. I'm quenting it until the end of time. No! Ah, dude! Igni takes down his armor. I can't believe it. I can't. Ah, that's just. You guys. Use guys.
Ashes!
Okay, fine. It's actually kind of interesting. Like, he's got a lot of mechanics, and you can't really see them all in a single life. So ultimately, you're kind of.
Ashes!
You kind of need to die multiple times in order to actually learn how to fight this fight. Oh, are you serious? I'm behind a rock. Are you stuck? Murder face time. Yeah, you earned this. You earned it. I wish I could crouch.
Should have stayed at home, Vandegrift. First mages die after such a victory. Gods, we can't fight such sorcery.
I thought those were trebuchets, not mages.
Sorcerer's head, unclean fire, we're doomed. Why are they doing this? As the prophecy said, the time will come when sorceresses turn on men. Flaming balls rain from the sky, and destruction will be unleashed. What should we do? Wait here for death? I shall lead you as a shepherd leads his flock, safely from the dark abyss.
Oh no! Oh no! More! Alright guys, let's lead. Let's go. Let's go, unit. Now you know what would be cool? It'd be cool if like there were trebuchets and arrows and, you know, like multiple things happening all at once. That would be neat. Because then I could put together all the skills that I'd learned. I don't even know where I'm going. I guess I made it.
Stop firing! Our men are dying! A massacre! Save us, sire!
Sabrina, is that your work?
Order your troops forward, Your Majesty. The Adernian army is routed.
Not only the Adernian, look at that terrified horde. This very morning they were the finest of my knights.
They'll make it if they're reinforced.
Who allowed you to use magic?
Sire, if you strike now, Lawmark will be yours.
You've tainted my honor, brought death to dozens of knights.
Sire, the battle was lost.
You put me to shame before them of end. His troops fought like men of honor should, to the end. Sabrina Gleversing, I sentence you to death. You shall burn the stake. I will return to claim my birthright.
July
Oh, thank God. I think it's over.
1270. The forests of Angren. No mighty mortal, no heap of meat or strong man can parry the strike of the Slizzard's tail. Letho couldn't either, but by some miracle he survived. I helped him. After all, Witchers on the path should help each other. He had 2 comrades, brother Witchers from the School of the Viper. The hunt continued south, and Letho of Gullet knew where it was going. He knew where the hellish chase would end.
Huh. Not too clear on how that related. Looks like the Witcher is missing his eyeballs.
You're finally awake.
Am I dead or hallucinating?
Oh, he's got them back.
You wouldn't meet me in the Beyond.
I don't remember coming here.
Because you didn't. Don't forget, we sorceresses have our ways.
In that case, thanks for your help.
You're too valuable to let die. You did the impossible. I don't know anyone who could deal with such a powerful curse.
You never said I'd face certain death.
I never stopped believing in you. Now, tell me everything that happened.
I saw Henselt sentencing Sabrina to death. I killed the Draug.
You must have, since the curse has gone.
I saw Vandergrift. I saw a rain of fireballs and death all around me. Everywhere.
Henselt is a criminal. He used the circumstances to kill Sabrina. He hated her.
That's why you sided with Eddern. For vengeance?
It's not about vengeance. It's about a better world. A world without Henselts.
That's utopia.
Passing through such a concentrated mass of the power opens the mind.
Cedric was right. The power of the Wraith's battle restores memory.
And what have you recalled?
Letho, Foltest's murderer. I saved him once and he helped me find the Wild Hunt. I just don't know if we managed to save Yennefer.
Did you learn anything else about the hunt?
When I killed the King of the Hunt, I killed a Wraith. In my memories, I fight the Hunt's riders. Blood flows from their wounds and they cry out in pain.
Which means you do not yet know all.
Not to worry. I will.
You lifted the curse, but there's no time to rest. Henselt's army will attack at any moment.
Henselt's a dick.
How's Saskia feeling?
Completely recovered. She can't wait to deal with Henselt. She'll personally command the defense of Vergen. She's in her element.
A siege can't be her element if she never faced one.
You underestimate her. Keep in mind she's got allies. A famous witcher, and me.
Perhaps I helped Henselt and put Eddern in danger by lifting the curse, but I had no other choice.
Sometimes you need to amputate the leg to save the body.
Time to decide the outcome of this war.
High time. Zoltan and Yarpen are setting up the troops. They're waiting for you.
Cool. So, guys, since I was getting a little ragey, a little salty at that entire sequence, I just want to bring to mind for all of you that it's entirely possible that CD Projekt Red and the designers in charge of these sections of the game, they probably all knew. And they probably had some great ideas of their own for how to fix it. It's not that they're, bad designers or anything like that. That's not the reason that games generally tend to have poor segments in them. Some of the ways that if they did look at that and they did say, wow, that's really frustrating, it takes players out of their skill path, the story forces them in this way and we have no other choice. Here are some interesting ideas. Maybe there was a deadline coming up. Maybe they needed to finish it for a preview they were making, or maybe they needed to finish it because the game needed to ship and they didn't have time to do anything more complex. Maybe their tools were set up to do one thing really easily, And the other things that I've been suggesting are actually really hard to do. Maybe they don't have the kind of dynamic collision that would allow the boss in that fight to block trebuchets and arrows, so they couldn't let you take cover behind him. Maybe that's what they wanted to do originally. I mean, it did sort of seem like they were teaching you some mechanics on the way up to fighting that boss, and then once you got to him, they didn't use those same mechanics. Maybe it's because they can do it with a static object, but they can't do that same thing with a dynamic object. Maybe the project management just didn't put a lot of focus on that. Maybe project management is really hyper-focused on the story and the role-playing side of the game, and they just, like, it's entirely conceivable that the producer or the creative director didn't really care about the combat. Like, they knew they wanted something more than The Witcher 1, but they weren't really combat people. Like, people have different expertises, right? Sometimes you're an expert at the way you can use conversation in order to manipulate a story. I'm not, but there are people who are, like Chris Avallone, for example, famous designer who helped on Planescape Torment, Tides of Numenera, you know, like, and then there are people who are really excellent at like the feeling of how it feels when you play the game. The creative director of Dark Souls and Demon's Souls clearly excels at that. And maybe he doesn't really do a great job with story as far as, like, delivering it to you. I think there's very interesting stories in those games, but those games are very different from, like, Baldur's Gate. So when you're going through a game, if you hit a section and you say, oh, the developers are stupid, this is awful, like, why did they do this? Just bear in mind, there are lots of extenuating circumstances that can really affect a design team's ability to deliver quality on any specific section of the game. So that's all I wanted to say. Esteco is pointing out that Witcher 2 is famous due to its storytelling and lore. There's a reason why one of the developers has redone the entire combat system and released it as a mod. Sure, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Farisar is saying, given how The Witcher 3 is looking, they're learning regardless, which is definitely great. So, I think that's it for today. Thank you guys for hanging out. Odetail Andy is saying, surely a good development team should contain both people who know how to write story and those who know how to make exceptional combat mechanics. Yes, but a team's leadership also decides what gets focus at the time and what needs to be delivered quickly versus what can take more time. And even if you have an excellent writer and an excellent combat designer and an excellent level designer and an excellent itemization designer, even if all of those people are masters of their craft, the producer might say, combat designer, man, we just got to get it done, ship it out. Or level designer, you know, I know this level isn't going to be great, but there are lots of other good levels in the game. We have to get this one done before E3. So, like, there are tons of circumstances that can force any section of a game to be less than the quality you would expect from the people who were involved with it. So don't take my frustration at that section of the game as a condemnation of the people who made it. Even though I think there are ways that it could have been improved, I don't know the situation that they were in during the design of that section of the game. I don't know what other ideas they may have had or tried or been incapable for circumstances beyond their control to implement. So, Beast Hacker has an interesting question. I'll go ahead and switch over to the Q&A screen here. Yeah. Let's see, I'll save and exit to main menu so we get some beautiful Witcher 2 music going on. Falfin is saying an excellent thing. He says, an author never thinks their work is done, only that it's ready. In a large group, you don't always decide for yourself when your part of the game is ready. That's absolutely true. Other people, especially producers and creative directors, they are the ones in charge of deciding whether or not your part is ready. Let's see, what did Beast Hacker say? Beast Hacker says, how do you make the best use of small or limited levels? I want to avoid random generation, but I'm trying to find ways to make the most out of less or smaller levels. I was thinking about things like weather that change parts of a level or open up paths. Any thoughts for efficient use of levels for small teams? That's a really interesting question, Beast Hacker. When I look at like Mass Effect 3's multiplayer, those spaces are very small, but because the enemies tend to come from different parts of the level, you're forced to use the level in different ways. And then, like you mentioned, using weather, they have, you know, like rain, that all of a sudden it changes the level because if you're hit by the rain, your shield goes down. So what you want to do is you want to stay under things. So all of a sudden the level changes from like this larger space into this even more confined space where you have to stay underneath awnings and inside of buildings, and you're trying to find new and different paths that you weren't aware of before in order to make your way around the level. And that's a really interesting way to improve the dynamic nature of the level and increase the amount of gameplay you get out of it. I think difficulty levels are another great way to get more use out of levels, or out of small levels. So like the first time you play, maybe you only have the itemization and the skill to play at, you know, bronze difficulty level, but then eventually you'll gain more items, you'll gain more power, you'll skill up so that you can play at silver or gold. And then there's like a difficulty level way at the top, and it's like the super extreme, like in The Witcher it's called Dark, I think, and you know, that's like only the top 1% of your players should ever beat this difficulty level, but you're just running them through the same physical space, right? So as a level designer, you only have to make one thing, and you get a lot of use out of it. Any other last questions before we take off? Kingdoms of Amalur. I heard that Kingdoms of Amalur was supposed to be an MMO originally, and then it was downscaled to a single-player game, and it was also released kind of more quickly than they anticipated because they were running out of money. Twilight Spark is asking, how much emphasis do you guys end up putting on spawning and respawning mechanics in your design for 40k? I'm always interested because as a player I felt more and more that one of the critical design pieces to any battle game is respawning. We want to make sure that respawning feels right, so that you're not getting spawn camped, and that your enemies don't feel like they're just fighting endless waves. But we're also not putting a lot of focus story-wise or lore-wise on the spawn and respawn mechanics. Like, we're just sort of, we're kind of hand-waving it, right? And saying, you spawn here because it's a video game and you need to, and in the fluff of the video game you're just being deployed there. It's not literally that you're being brought back to life by some sort of engine or anything like that. But we do want to make certain that spawning and respawning feels good, so we've been trying a bunch of different things. Smooth or crunchy peanut butter? I'm a smooth man myself. And I think that's it. So thanks for hanging out, guys. Sorry today's game was a little bit more frustrating than usual, but, you know, interesting to see how sections of the game have very different experiences as you're playing through, so I hope you guys will all come out next Saturday morning and check me out when I play more The Witcher 2 and talk about it from a designer perspective. I think this evening, probably in 7 or 8 hours from now, I'm going to play Dead Core. So I'd love if you guys would come check that out. I'm going to just play really quick the trailer for Dead Core on stream here. Let's see if I can set up another... Let's see if I can set up another window so you guys can see the trailer. Dead Core, the Timeless Tower. Yep, this looks like a trailer to me, so let's see. Add. What do I want? No, I don't want monitor capture. Window capture. Subregion, select region. Actually, I'll do that. And then I'll say subregion, select region, done. Hit OK. And then I'll edit that scene. Move that in the middle. Oh yeah, here we go. Alright, we're meeting The Witcher 2. I hope you guys don't mind that I'm advertising for my team members' game right now. But I also think it's a really cool game that you guys should totally check out. Yeah, so here we go. So I'll be playing this in like 7 or 8 hours. So I hope you guys will come by this evening. Check me out.
Peggy 7.
So there you have it. I've been playing it. It's a super duper blast. I recommend any of you check it out. It is $10.99 on Steam right now. They had 5 people working on the game, I think. That's why it's called 5 Bits Games. And they had 2 sound designers of those 5 people. And the sound in that game is actually really nice. So check it out. It's super cool. You can come see me play it this evening, 7 or 8 hours from now. Follow me on Twitter to find out more about that. And yes, it is absolutely a speedrun game. Once you finish the story mode, then there's actually specific time trials and speedrun mechanics that unlock. So thanks for the link, Spoon Fairy. And that's all for today. So thank you guys for coming out, and thank you guys for letting me advertise for my buddy's game. And have a wonderful evening. So cheers, y'all.